Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Beyond Rosacea podcast. I'm calling it the Beyond Rosacea podcast because I feel like this whole journey of healing my skin has truly been a transformation of my heart, even more so than it's been an external skin journey, especially as I've gotten into the second half of this journey. I feel like at the beginning of this journey, I learned a lot about diet and toxins and just like my day-to-day kind of life. And the second half, I've transitioned more into the nervous system and your emotions and feeling your feelings. And this has been the part that has been the most special to me. It has felt so much more peaceful and easeful, and there's been so much more freedom. But there has also been a lot of depth, and there's been a lot of changes in my life and in myself and in my relationships. So I'm really excited to have this podcast to share all those stories with you, share all those lessons, and really just take you on the journey with me of healing my own rosacea. I wanted this first episode to be more of like my story. I just want to give you a bit of a background of things that I've tried, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and kind of bring you into my world a little bit so we can connect. And I feel like you'll be able to relate with a lot of the things that I have felt, a lot of the things that I have tried, and realize that we are more similar than you think. Because I think a lot of people see me now having more flexibility with my diet and not being so strict and not following all the rules and the narratives that there have been around rosacea for so long. And they might think that maybe I've gone off the deep end and I don't care about my health and all those things, but that couldn't be more far from the truth. And so I feel like if you can relate to me and see yourself in my story, it might give you some hope that you can just loosen off the death grip that you have on healing as well. So I don't have an official intro for this podcast, but one thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to start every episode with a prayer. I do that, and then we'll get into more of my story. So dear God, thank you that we're here. Thank you for this journey. Thank you for my rosacea, and thank you that it has brought me to the deepest, darkest parts of my heart, and it has also brought me closer to you. Thank you for all the lessons, and I just pray for everyone listening to this that they will be encouraged and it will give them a sense of peace. That's my biggest hope for this podcast, is that you will speak through me to them and you will give them a sense of peace and a sense of encouragement and even a sense of excitement for all the things that can be and that can come on their journey healing their own skin. So I ask that you just help me get out of the way and that you speak through me. And I know that everyone listening to this, you have a very big purpose for their life, or else you wouldn't have given them rosacea. I feel like rosacea really is used as a tool to wake us up to ourselves. And so, yeah, I just ask that you open people's hearts to the possibility that there's actually a purpose for why they got rosacea, and it's a good thing, even though it doesn't feel like it. And I know how it feels to be in the depths of it when you're really struggling. I just ask that you can use my story and use this whole journey as a way to show them what it is you're trying to show them through this. So thank you that we're here. Yeah, just thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so we're going to get started. I developed rosacea at 23 years old. So I was very young. I was just at the beginning stages of my life. Like I had graduated high school 5 years before that, and I had just started working in my career, and I was going through life. I feel like as soon as I got rosacea, it kind of just felt like my life got sucked away from me, and the things that I once loved, I was no longer able to do. It felt really limiting in my diet for one, but also things that I used to enjoy, like playing sports and working out. And I was really scared to sweat. And then going outside, I became really scared of the sun, and all these things that I felt like were the biggest parts of my life and that I loved the most, all of a sudden felt like with my rosacea, they got taken away from me. And so on the journey of trying to heal my own rosacea, I would say I spent the first couple years just like being like, what the F is going on? Just completely having no clue. And the first thing that I tried was, actually, that's a lie. I didn't get rosacea first. I actually got perioral dermatitis first. And so that is like, if you haven't heard of it, it's like a rash around, for me, it showed up around my chin, and it was super sensitive. I couldn't really like touch it. I couldn't put any skincare on it, or else it felt like it would just spread and get really irritated. So my skin problems started with that. And after about 6 months of that, I had no clue like what to do. I was just at a total loss. I was somebody who had always had really clear skin, maybe the odd breakout in high school, but for the most part, very clear skin, never had to worry about my skin. And when that dermatitis happened, I was at a complete loss. So I went to the doctors and they prescribed me doxycycline. And I actually stayed on doxycycline for an entire year because every time I would try and come off of it, my skin would just get worse, and all the things that the antibiotics took away would just come right back. After a year, I was like, I can't stay on this forever. Like, this is not attainable. It's also not something I want to do. I don't want to stay on an antibiotic forever. And so I decided to come off of it. And when I came off of it, my dermatitis had mostly gone away. But as soon as I came off of the antibiotic, I had full-blown rosacea all over my face, like my forehead, nose, chin, cheeks. It was literally everywhere. And so then I was like, oh my God, like this is a whole other type of skin problem that now I need to learn how, like what skincare it prefers and how to deal with that and what triggers that. And it just sent me in like this big spiral of, I had basically figured out my dermatitis, and then came the rosacea, and I was like, wow, I don't have a clue what to do for this. And so that sent me down another rabbit hole. And I knew that I didn't want to go the creams and the antibiotics and those kind of things. It just didn't seem attainable to me. And so I decided to go the natural route, and I started seeing naturopaths, and I was Googling everything under the sun, like what foods are people cutting out, what things are triggering their skin. And through that whole journey, I feel like I tried anything and everything. Literally, like if someone was like, oh my gosh, tomatoes will make your skin break out, I'd be like, okay, tomatoes are out. If chocolate makes you break out, okay, chocolate's out. I remember even reading somebody talk about orgasms, and they're like, don't ever have an orgasm that's going to trigger your rosacea. And I was like, orgasms gone. Like just everything. My diet basically consisted of nothing. And through going to a naturopath, I tried things like healing SIBO. I tested positive for SIBO. I took food sensitivity tests, and I was supposedly allergic to most of the normal things that I would eat on my day-to-day, like beef, chicken, dairy, gluten, eggs, oranges, like all of my favorite foods that I literally survived off of came back positive on the food sensitivity test. So through that journey, I learned more about the gut. I learned more about the liver, and I just tried every diet. I tried elimination diets. I tried diets to heal SIBO. I one time went 28 days without eating food at all. I would eat like this little smoothie that had salt and amino acids and basically just enough nutrients to keep me alive and like keep my organs functioning. But the point of it was to starve the SIBO out of my body. And it was awful. It was literal torture. And I remember people being like, why are you being so hard on your body? Like, your body needs food, your body needs nutrients, your body needs support. Like, you're being so hard on it. And I was just so desperate and in this like place where I couldn't understand that. I'm like, what do you mean I'm being hard on my body? Like, this is what my body needs. There's something wrong with my body. Like, I have SIBO, all my gut bacteria is off. Like, it's my body's, I almost felt like my body was attacking itself, and I was approaching it from that place where I'm like, no, there's something wrong with my body. My body's broken. Like, I need to fix my body, and starving myself and starving the SIBO and starving this evil thing inside of me is going to be the solution. And none of it was ever the solution. I felt like I kind of just fell into this prison where it was like, if I wasn't perfect, if I didn't cut out every single food, and I wasn't like, I don't know, if I just wasn't so aware of my surroundings, like if I went out in the sun and I didn't have sunscreen on, or I ate a piece of bread, or I didn't eat the 4 foods that would keep my skin clear and wouldn't break me out, my skin would go crazy. And so my life just got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And that was how I controlled my rosacea. I got my skin to a fairly clear place. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was a lot better than when it felt like it was like really out of control and I just had no concept of what was going on. But the thing is, in order to keep my skin at that place, I had to live in so much restriction that it wasn't even obtainable. Like it was just, I had built myself a prison that I now had to live in. And my results and having clear-ish skin was completely dependent on me staying in these parameters. And those parameters were so unattainable. So in 2021, I found the Rosacea method, which is a protocol using gut and liver to help heal your rosacea. I ended up signing up for it. I was like, I don't even care. Like, I will literally do anything. I will put in the work. I will show up. I just need somebody to tell me what to do. And so I did that program for 5 months. And by the end of 5 months, my rosacea was basically healed. I have type 2 rosacea and also type 1 on my cheeks. I have just like a constant underlying redness. And then I would get type 2, which was the one that bothered me the most, and I would get spots like everywhere. And so by the end of that program, my type 2 had gone away completely. My type 1 was still there a little bit. Like I still had a little bit of redness on my cheeks that kind of stayed. But I mean, compared to where I started, I considered my skin completely healed. It was amazing. My life changed forever. It was one of the greatest things I've ever done. And I was literally on cloud 9. And then in November of 2023, so I had clear skin for, I would say, about a year. And then in November of 2023, that summer, I had gone through a really big breakup. So it was a really emotional time for me. That coupled with I was going through a very stressful period at work. I was running some projects that were very poorly managed. And I was very new at this job. So everything was kind of up to me because I was the one running the project. But at the end of the day, I didn't really fully understand what I was doing. It's just mistakes that were made that I couldn't catch because I didn't know. Through all of that, I just got to a place where my brain just wouldn't stop. And I would wake up every night at 4 or 2 or 3 in the morning after having like 3 hours of sleep. And as soon as I woke up, if I woke up in the middle of the night, my brain just would not shut off and I couldn't go back to sleep. Like I would wake up and my heart would be pounding out of my chest. That anxiety and that constant stress every single day led to me developing these random spots that were almost like blisters or something that started appearing on my face. And those led into my rosacea coming back again. As hard as it was, there was a part of me that was kind of like, you know what? I'm not that worried about it. I've been there, done that. I've healed rosacea before. I know how to do it. Like, I feel like I kind of put it on the back burner. Like, it was very concerning and I was very annoyed that all those things came back, but it wasn't the craziest thing going on in my life. And so I kind of put it on the back burner for a while. I'm also really busy, so I don't really have time to dedicate myself to doing this program again because it requires a lot of cooking. In July of 2024, I decided to start that same protocol again. This time I did it for a total of 10 months. And by the end of those 10 months, my skin, it was a little bit better, but I just felt like it wasn't even close to being healed. And I will say that when I did the program the first time, I was very committed. I showed up every single day in the way that I was supposed to, and I did all the things properly. And this second time, I was traveling a lot for work. And so if I was traveling, that meant I had to meal prep on the weekend when I was home, and I would have to meal prep 3 meals for 5 days a week. So 15 meals I would have to meal prep. I would have to bring them with me in my work truck and keep them in like the little hotel fridge. I would have to bring all my supplements, and some of them were like things I would make into a smoothie and stuff. And so it was just so hard. Like, honestly, I was the most stressed out from the way that I was cooking and my diet and just what it required of me. Like I would work Monday to Friday and then I would want to go home and enjoy my life, and I would just end up cooking my life away. At the time, I had started showing up a little bit more on social media and wanting to talk about healing my skin. I was actively trying to find a different path that I could take so I could quit my 9 to 5. Being an electrician was something I no longer wanted to do. After about 10 months of I was very committed, but just not the same level of commitment I was the first time. And not because I didn't care or I wasn't trying. I just didn't have the capacity. I was at my max capacity. And with trying to show up more on social media, I felt like I was kind of left at a crossroads where I had to choose between building a business and putting my time and my focus into a way that I would be able to quit my 9 to 5, or I could spend all of my time, literally all of my time, cooking and trying to heal my rosacea and trying to maintain what it took in order for me to commit to that program. That was probably the first decision that I made, where I made it from a place of I want to experience more of life. I don't want to stay stuck in this cycle of being so desperate and pushing so hard and forcing my body to change and feeling like I'm broken. And I wasn't fully aware of all of this when I was making that decision. But when I was faced between spending all my time worrying about healing my skin or building a business, the only thing that made sense to me in that moment was to follow my dreams. I wanted to quit my job so bad that I was I want a life that is the life that I'm looking for. I don't want a life that's just more of me desperately trying to heal. I had gone through my breakup a year and a half or whatever before. I had started working with a relationship coach, and she started to teach me about myself. I developed a really deep relationship with myself. She taught me how to feel my emotions and just be more present with myself. And that was something that was so uncomfortable at the beginning. But as I got more used to it, I was really able to hear and understand what I truly wanted and what I truly needed. A lot of us live from this place of making every decision from our mind or in our head, and we'll just think about everything over and over again. I wonder if this is the right decision, and we'll think about all the pros and the cons and try and make a decision based off of that. But there's a completely different way that you can live your life. And if you just spend time with yourself and you learn to feel your emotions and you learn to be present with your own body, you will slowly start to develop a relationship with your body where you understand what your body is trying to tell you, because your body is forever communicating with you all the time. Even when you meet, if you're going to go on a date or something and you meet someone new and they say something to you that doesn't align with your values or who you are, you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel your body kind of close and contract a little bit. Or if someone yells at you and you get really triggered, you can physically feel your body closing off. And then same thing when you're really comfortable with someone and you're with someone you love and they're making you laugh and you're fully authentically expressing yourself and you feel very safe around them, you can feel your physical body start to open up. You can feel your heart start to open up. And those are cues that your body is giving you 24/7. But a lot of times we overanalyze everything and we shut off how we actually feel, because if we listened to the cues that our bodies were giving us 24/7, we would be forced to have to act on them. And a lot of times they're very uncomfortable because it's so purely the truth. And I feel like the truth can be very uncomfortable sometimes because it requires you to follow your soul's direction, which is usually uncomfortable. And it truly is what's for your highest good. But we have become so conditioned to be who we are, and we have our wounds and we have our pain and we avoid our emotions and we don't want to look at things that are hard. And so we kind of push down and shut that part of ourselves off, and we live completely in our head. And so working with this relationship coach really helped me listen to what my body was telling me. That really led me to where I'm at now with food. It helped me develop an understanding with what my body actually wanted, because I was in such a deep, dark place with food that I had gotten to a place where everything I did when it came to diet and how I thought I needed to heal came from someone else telling me gluten is bad, dairy is bad, tomatoes are bad, garlic is bad, these foods are bad, this food is bad. And every decision I had made up until that point was me seeking out information from someone else and letting them tell me what I needed to do for me. I started to realize in that moment when I was kind of at that crossroads between focusing more on building a business and being able to quit my job, or staying in this program and this protocol and focusing all my time on cooking and all my time on healing, I realized that my body was screaming at me. Like, it was literally shouting at me of like, we can't do this anymore. We don't want to do this anymore. And the more I listened, the more it spoke. And I remember I would start eating, like, I had a list of like 15 different recipes that I would just cycle through over and over again. And for years, I had loved them. They were all gluten-free, dairy-free. It was kind of like the only things I could eat. And I loved those recipes. Like, there was never a time where I felt like, I don't know, I was disgusted by them or anything. And then eventually I hit a point where I physically could not eat them anymore. Like, I would have one bite of them and I would just feel like I was going to puke. And again, that was part of me listening to my body. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, like, this food is making me feel sick, there must be something more wrong with me. And I just looked at it the other way and I said, what is my body trying to tell me? And I'm actually going to listen. And my body, by having those reactions to the normal foods I would eat, like physically feeling like I was going to throw up when I would take a bite of it, was my body's cue and my body's way of telling me, we will not do this anymore. Like, you can force us to do it because it's up to you, but like, we do not want to do this anymore. And it was physically screaming at me. And so those were some of the things that kind of happened during this like shift. And I remember praying about it one night and I was like, okay, I'm just like getting to this point where I'm realizing that this is something that once served me and I learned a lot about my body, but I still feel like I'm approaching my healing from a place of lack and I'm not really honoring myself and my own body, and I don't feel joy in my healing and I don't feel peace. I feel fear. Even though I'm doing all these things and they've worked in the past, I still feel like I'm doing it from a place of like obligation and fear, and it just doesn't feel good. Like, I'm so sick of doing this. I'm so sick of doing this. I'm so sick of being so scared of food. I'm so sick of being so scared of life, and I just don't want to do this anymore. I prayed and I told God that, and I was like, I don't want it to be this anymore. Like, if you can make it be anything else, like, I am aware that I need to do something. Like, obviously, if my skin is having all these problems, it's telling me something about myself. I can respect that. Like, I know it's going to require something of me, but I don't want it to be this anymore. I don't want it to be food. I don't want it to be something that's just like this all-consuming thing. Like, I want to enjoy my life as well. And I think that I should be able to enjoy my life while I'm healing. I just said, if you can make it anything other than food, please just show me a different way. Show me something else. Literally the next day, a friend of mine that I follow on Instagram, she sent me a podcast episode of this woman named Nicole Sachs. And she talks all about the link between emotions and chronic symptoms. And the more I learned about this, the more I was so blown away. And I've always been a person who really appreciates like growth and change and just becoming a better person. I really like that. And so I was like, oh my God, if I can heal my skin through learning how to feel my emotions deeper, through regulating my nervous system, through healing all these old traumas and things that have happened in my life, like, that would literally be the coolest thing ever. I would absolutely love that. And yes, it's very uncomfortable to go there, but also for me, that just seemed so much easier than being so scared of food and all these kind of things. I found out she was doing a retreat in New York, and I think this was about April of this year, April of 2025. And I bought a ticket. I bought my plane ticket and I ended up going. And at this retreat, I was just so blown away. I learned all about the mind-body connection and the connection between your brain and your nervous system. And I'll give you like a quick rundown of the science, like super, super quick. And then in the next episode, I'm going to actually go into how the nervous system and the brain and all of that plays a role in your symptoms. But basically what happens is we all have an emotional reservoir that lives under the surface. And these are all things that are very unconscious. They kind of just run your life in the background. Throughout your life, you have learned that there are certain parts of you that are acceptable and certain parts of you that are unacceptable. Because as children, we're really forced to choose between being authentic and connection, survival. And when you're a child, you're unable to go to work. You can't feed yourself. You can't cook for yourself, all those things. And so your survival is purely dependent on someone else. And so if you don't learn to place more value on connection than you do authenticity, that could impact how well you're taken care of and impact your survival. And your body subconsciously, in ways that you're not even thinking about, cares about survival and puts survival at the top of the priority list above anything else. Like, it is always doing everything it can to keep you safe. Like, if you put your hand on a hot stove, you're instantly moving your hand away without even thinking about it. If there was a car coming towards you that could potentially hit you that you didn't see, like, your body would just, well, you would obviously see it when your body moved, but your body would move without you having to calculate, like, okay, now I'm going to jump and now I'm going to do this. And so safety is your number one priority. There comes a point in our life where these really big emotions like anger and rage and grief and sadness and frustration, all of those things become inconvenient for other people. They can affect your connection with your caregiver because maybe your parents like you better when you're more agreeable and you're happy and you're a good girl and a good child and all these different things. And so we learn to suppress the bigger, more unacceptable parts of ourselves in order to get that connection and that love in the hopes of survival and being taken care of and being part of the group. And as you lose those parts of yourself, I feel like sometimes they almost become demonized. Like, we start to run away from our own sadness and we start to run away from our own anger, and they're emotions that we don't want to look at and we don't want to process, and we push them away. But just because we push them away doesn't mean that they actually go away. And if we don't look at them and we don't actually feel them, then they don't go anywhere. They just get stored in this reservoir. So most of us have spent our whole lives doing that, and we've spent our whole lives running away from the bigger things. And that also coupled with things like people pleasing and a lack of boundaries, being unable to say no, always trying to be the best, like having super hard expectations of on yourself, having a lack of self-compassion, putting everyone else's needs before your own. I feel like a lot of people who have chronic symptoms have very type A personality types. Like, you expect the best of yourself, even with your healing. Like, you're trying to be so perfect with your healing. Like, one wrong move and everything will fall apart, and there's no flexibility, and all of those things as well start to go into the reservoir over your lifetime and fill it up. On top of that, if you have had actual traumatic events happen in your life, like maybe you've gone through a lot of grief and a lot of death, or you've had like sexual assault or things like that. But even if you're looking at what's happened in your life and you're like, oh, well, I don't really have any big traumatic events that like I would need to go to therapy about or anything like that. Like, all of those smaller things built up over time, especially when it becomes things that are kind of ingrained in you, like the people pleasing and all of that, and different parts of your personality. Like, those are things that are happening every single day. Even things like a breakup or having money problems or just stress, like work stress over and over and over again. All of that stuff fulfill this emotional reservoir. And so when your emotional reservoir hits its max capacity, like it is maxed out there's no more space left. What happens is that your nervous system senses that, and your nervous system sends a signal to your brain, and it lets your brain know, hey, we are in danger right now. Like if you don't do something to protect us, she is in danger of having to feel all of these feelings that she's been suppressing for her whole life. Like it's hit its max. This is like the red light. We're sounding the alarm. If you don't do something right now, all of this stuff is going to spill over. And because we've spent our whole lives running away from these emotions and running away from these parts of ourselves, your nervous system and your brain now view all of those things and all of those emotions equal to death. Like it is just as dangerous for your body as if you were going to die. And because safety is your number one priority, your body will put anything over that. Like it will do anything to avoid you dying and to keep you safe. Your nervous system lets your brain know that, hey, she's at her max capacity. This is the red light. We can't do this anymore. You need to do something about it. And that's when your brain kicks in, and your brain will find something, anything that it can use to distract you from those emotions as a way to keep you safe. And so that's where your symptoms come in. So it could be something like chronic pain, it could be IBS, it could be SIBO, like any kind of gastrointestinal stomach kind of issues. It could be any type of skin problems, acne, rosacea. It could be migraines. It could be chronic fatigue, anything that pulls your attention away from what's going on inside and puts your focus on something else. And Nicole, the lady that I learned all this from at this retreat, she was saying how when your brain uses the symptoms as a way to distract you and protect you, it's keeping you safe in the unsafest way. Like we all know that getting breakouts actually makes us even more stressed and it makes our lives even harder. But to your brain, it needs something that's very black and white. Like if we give her a breakout, it will divert her attention and it will distract her. And now she will be Googling symptoms and Googling doctors and going to naturopaths. And it brings your body back into a sense of control. Like if you have a disease or a symptom that you're working on, that somehow gives you and your brain comfort because it's giving you a sense of control. It's giving you something to focus on. Whereas relationship problems and money problems, they're not as black and white to your brain. Like they're a very gray area and they're kind of all over the place and your brain doesn't know how to feel about them. And so it views them as more dangerous. It views them as very like unstable and a very big like unknown, and we need to stay away from that kind of stuff. Whereas a chronic symptom is like, okay, now you have something to obsess over. You have something to try and control. And it kind of feels like it puts you back in the driver's seat, even though again, you are safe in the unsafest way. And it's not something that's actually serving you, but your brain is doing what it does best. It's working perfectly. And that's the other thing, is that even if your brain is triggering all these symptoms because of an emotional overwhelm, it's not happening because your body's broken. It's happening because that is how your body is designed. Your body is designed to put safety as the number one priority above all else. And it doesn't care if what it uses to keep you safe isn't something that's actually really serving you in the long run. That is the mind-body connection in like a nutshell. But like I said, in the next episode, we're going to go way more into the nervous system and like the actual science and the scientific studies between how they've proven that this is a thing. Through this retreat and learning all of this, I have been able to start experimenting with this. So I'm like, okay, if this is a thing, let me just see how it works in my own life. And the cool part was learning the science gave me a lot of relief. And I learned that yes, your gut can become dysregulated and you can have a hard time digesting food and all these other things, but the gut isn't necessarily a root cause. Like if you're having issues with your gut, it can trigger issues with your skin, but the gut is not the thing that's causing all of the symptoms to happen. It's the higher, like there's like a hierarchy, and the nervous system and what's going on in the brain and the overwhelm of emotions and all of that, like that is the fire. And if you're a fireman and you're pointing the hose at the gut, you're helping lower inflammation and you're helping do all those things, but you're not actually putting out the actual fire, because the nervous system and the emotions and the dysregulation is also causing the gut problems. So if you're only looking at the gut problems, you're not looking at the actual culprit. Having that knowledge helped me shift my focus from like, okay, everything is revolved around my diet and I have to be so scared and so careful. And I'm like, I can totally let go of all of this. And as long as I'm focusing on the actual thing and the actual issue, then as I work on this issue and help my body lower the emotional load and help my nervous system feel safe, then as I'm doing all of that, naturally all of the gut stuff is going to regulate, and naturally all of my skin problems are going to regulate, and everything's going to kind of go back to normal, because your body is so powerful and it's so capable of healing itself and bringing everything back into balance. But when your nervous system is thrown off and your body's in fight or flight and you're constantly stressed, when your body goes into fight or flight, it diverts all the resources away from things like healing and digestion and all of that, because you have many different states to your nervous system. Rest and digest is a state, but fight or flight is also a state. And if your body's in fight or flight, it scientifically, physically, all the ways cannot be in rest and digest. So you can be working on your gut. You can be doing all of these crazy things, all of these perfect diets and eating perfectly. But if your body is still in a state of fight or flight because your emotional reservoir is completely overloaded and you're stressed and your personality isn't helping you anyway in life, and you're just so death grip focused on your healing and so stressed about it and worried about everything, it's going to keep your nervous system in that chronic state of fight or flight. And when you're in fight or flight, it's diverting all the energy, all the blood flow, everything that your body needs to digest and relax and heal. It's taking all of those resources and all of that energy away from those things, and it's pumping it into cortisol and whatever, like trying to keep you alive. Like it completely diverts the focus, and it's pumping it into different areas of your body that it believes are going to keep you safe. Just like in the past, if you were to come across a predator and you would need to run. Again, fight or flight is not something bad either. It is a very normal part of being a human, and you need it. Like that is what keeps you alive. It's very good, and your body is working perfectly. It is working perfectly the way it's designed to work, but we were never meant to be in fight or flight all the time. And so if you don't spend time on your emotions and on your nervous system, then your body stays in that constant chronic state. And not that it's bad to be in fight or flight. That's not the issue. The issue is that never gets dealt with, and that emotional reservoir never comes back down, and everything that your body is using to keep you alive and like keep your body in this state of fight or flight never gets to be put on the areas that it really needs to focus on, like healing and digestion. As I started to focus on the actual issues that were going on and the actual problems, and regulating my body and learning to feel my emotions and all the different things, I was able to start experimenting with food and kind of lowering the fear that came with it. My diet actually didn't hold the amount of weight that I thought it did, because if I was eating gluten and dairy when I got a breakout, I would purposefully keep eating it. The next day, I would literally eat the exact same thing that I ate the day that I got a breakout. I would solely focus on the nervous system and the emotions. And within 3 or 4 days, my breakout was going away and everything was coming back down. And I'm like, okay, well, if my skin's getting better just by doing these other things and not by changing my diet at all, then maybe my diet doesn't hold the same weight that I thought it did, or at least in the ways that I thought it did. Diet is still important. I do think it's very important to nourish your body. And this is, again, a topic we're going to talk about in a lot of depth in future episodes, because I do think food is so important. But I think the things I was placing importance on are not actually as important as I thought they were. And cutting out huge groups of food at a time is not actually healthy when it comes to the nervous system. And a lot of times it leaves you not eating enough food and you're not actually nourishing your body. And nourishing your body and having enough food and having energy for your organs and all of that stuff to function, because your nervous system is also very dependent on you eating enough. If you undereat because you're scared of food and all that kind of stuff, that's affecting your nervous system as well. And you're just perpetuating the cycle even more. I have shifted my focus so much. Like, I feel like I've done a complete 180 in so many areas, but it's been the coolest thing to be able to just experiment. My whole heart has been completely transformed just by looking at the hard stuff, going towards the hard stuff, feeling the anger, feeling the sadness, feeling the emotions. And it's by doing all of that, it's like you get clear skin. You also get to eat whatever you want and do whatever you want. And you get better relationships. You get a better relationship with yourself, better relationships with your parents. You're less on edge. You're less stressed about everything. You have more self-compassion. You care about yourself more. You love yourself in a deeper way. Like, I'm like, who wouldn't want to heal their rosacea like this? Like, who wouldn't want more love, more peace, more freedom, more food, more all of the things, and still get the same end result? So I am so excited to take you guys on this journey with me. I just feel like it's going to be so beneficial and so helpful for you. It's already changed my life. I'm just really excited to see what happens, like diving into it full force. Like, there are things that have healed in my heart with my parents in different relationships that I have in my life that I didn't even know was possible that I could ever heal in my lifetime. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I'll get like close and I'll work on those things. But I never thought they could just completely go away. Like, I could just not even care and not have any emotion or anger or resentment or anything to situations that I've spent my whole life feeling like they controlled me in the background. Like, they controlled how I showed up in different areas of my life. And now they're just non-existent. Like, there's nothing there. And it has all been a byproduct of doing the work that I need to do to heal my skin. So in the next couple episodes, we're going to talk more about diet. We're going to talk about the nervous system and the emotions and the science behind it, so your brain can really comprehend and actually believe that what I'm telling you is true. And the more your brain believes that it's true, the more you're going to be able to take action in your own life and in your own healing. And you'll be able to do exactly what I'm doing, where you show up in these situations and you just prove to yourself over and over and over again that the things that you've been focusing on maybe aren't as important as you think. And there's other things that you can do that will have far greater of an impact on your skin. I am just so blown away where I'm at in honestly not even that much time, like a few months time. Can't wait to see what happens.